Time to make elderberry syrup. 'Tis the season for illnesses. Mason was sick all throughout Thanksgiving. Now Brian is sick. And my second son, Devin, texted me a couple of days ago and said, "Hey Mom, can you send me some elderberry syrup?" And I reminded him, "Dude, your baby shower is in like less than 2 weeks and I'm coming up there. So I will bring you some, but I needed to make it because I'm almost completely out." I made it maybe 18 months ago, maybe even 2 years ago, and I canned it. And that's what I'm going to suggest that you do. If you're going to spend the time to make elderberry syrup, which is an inexpensive thing to do, make elderberry syrup. I wouldn't make a small batch of it because you can can it, put it in your pantry, and you can use it for like the next year, 2 years, sometimes 3 years. As long as that lid doesn't pop up, you can use your elderberry syrup. If you've never canned before, it is not as scary as you think, especially with something like elderberry syrup that is sweetened with honey, because all you have to do is water bath can it, and I'll show you how to do that. It is not that big of a deal. So what you're going to do is get some elderberries. You can forage for elderberries if you live in the type of area that has elderberries, and you can forage for them. In my area in Southwest Virginia, they're ripe about late August or so. If you do forage, make sure that you pick the berries off it's like a big flowery plant. Pick the berries off individually, which is really tedious. So if you have children, get them involved, although it will stain their fingers purple, just so you're aware of that. And then you can put the elderberries in the freezer until you're ready to make elderberry syrup. So I'm going to add the ones that I foraged for. And if I have that video from like late August, I'll add that to this video, but I'm not sure if I still have it. I switched phones and stuff like that. So I'm using 2 pounds of elderberries plus whatever I foraged for. And so you need a fairly large pot. I already added 1 pound of the elderberries. They come dried. All right, so you put your elderberries in your pot, and then you make sure that your water seriously, I just opened the bag and it didn't open. Okay, I'm gonna have to get some scissors and open the bag. I'll be right back. What you're also going to need, especially if you're canning this, are canning jars. I have no idea what's in that canning jar. A pint canning jar is a really good size for elderberry syrup. I've actually canned in half-pint jars and it's really not enough. So pint jars are a really good idea. You're going to need canning lids and canning rings. You can get these almost anywhere. Same thing with the jars. Like if you don't have canning jars laying around, you can go like Walmart, home stores and stuff like that will have them. And they already come with the lids and the rings. Okay, so you need that. You're going to need a big stock pot or a canning pot. Mine has seen better days. I need a new one, but I will put that pot, fill it with water, and put it on my stove and let that water come to a boil. And then I will add my jars very, very carefully into that water. And what you need also, if you're going to can it, is just a canning set. I'll show you in 1 second what it comes with that you're going to need. These 2 doodads. This is just a little magnet on a stick, and it helps pick up the lids that you're going to sanitize. And this helps you pick up your jars that are really super hot because you're going to sanitize those too. So the jars go in the boiling water to get sanitized, and then you can just kind of like let them sit in that water and it's no big deal. You can take some of that hot boiling water, put it in a smaller pan, sanitize your lids. Okay, you don't need to sanitize the rings, just the lids. So those are the things that you're going to need. You'll probably need something to pour the liquid into the cans, but we'll be doing that later and I'll show you what that's like. But in the meantime, just put it on your stove and walk away and do whatever it is that you need to do while you're waiting for that liquid to reduce a little bit. All right, your elderberries will probably have, the dried ones, some stems. They're not going to kill you, but you don't want a lot of them in your syrup, even though everything will get strained. So if you see some big stems, take them out. Put them aside. So you want enough water. Oh my goodness, the stems in here, man. I'll dig those out so you don't have to take, I don't have to take video time to do that. Grab a spoon here. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So I want a good amount of water in my pot, so because that's what makes the syrup eventually. So I probably have 3 or 4 quarts of water in this pot. So the way that I make my elderberry syrup is a little bit different than the recipes you might find online, and nobody's wrong. Okay, everybody likes to do things the way that they like to do things. So what I do, what I add to my elderberry syrup is rose hips. Rose hips have amazing health benefits, especially when it comes to your immune system. They're really They're really gross and ugly though. That's what they look like. Kind of like dried up big raisins. Okay, so I'm going to add, I bought these online too. About 2 cups. Oh my gosh, that's all I have left. I think there's a little bit more in there. Oops. About 2 cups of rose hips goes in there. Okay? A secret ingredient. If you've never heard of moringa, it's a plant. It's like a little tree. It is like a miracle plant. It is amazing. I believe moringa has like 7 times the vitamin C of an orange. Vitamin C is really, really good for your immune system. So I do not recommend putting dried moringa powder in your elderberry syrup because that's gross and it'll be all gritty, icky. So I'm going to take organic dried moringa tea bags and I'm going to throw them 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12-ish. Okay, I'm going to put them in there too. What you're going to do is mix that up. You're going to want to simmer it. You don't want to boil it. Simmer it, okay? I have this is an electric stove. I hate electric stoves. My new house has a humongous gas stove. I got it on clearance at Lowe's. It's still sitting in our barn and it's huge crate. It's a 48-inch stove. Oh my God, I'm so excited. One day we'll start our new house. That's a separate video. I'm going to be making that soon. It's a kind of a nightmare. Okay. So to this, I'm going to add clove. Now you can use powdered clove, which is what I'm going to use, or you can use clove essential oil. I love essential oils and I have essential oils. I just don't want to put it in my elderberry syrup, but you can put clove essential oil in your elderberry syrup. I'd probably put maybe 4 or 5 drops in a pan this big. What I'm going to do is take maybe 2 or 3 teaspoons of clove. My spoon doesn't fit. Okay? Clove is really strong. Oh, but it smells so good. It smells like Christmas. Okay. Cinnamon. You can also use cinnamon essential oil. You can also use cinnamon sticks. But I don't have cinnamon sticks. I do have cinnamon essential oil. But I'm going to load up on the cinnamon because I love it. I love the flavor of cinnamon. So I probably have 2 heaping tablespoons of cinnamon in there. Now the other thing that you're going to need is honey, preferably raw unfiltered honey. If you can get local honey, even better, just because you're supporting local businesses and all that. So what I'm going to do is give this a good mix, and I'm going to let this simmer in my house for, I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half. It just depends on how long it takes for it to simmer down and but reduce some. Okay, so the syrup is a little bit thicker. Okay, so unfortunately, I realized that in our move, my canning stuff is somewhere. I don't know where it is, which means I don't have my canning funnel. So when you buy a kit that has all of the tools that you need, there's a funnel included, and it makes pouring things into your jars so much easier. So it's going to be challenging and messy. So what I've done in all of this time is I let the mixture simmer. I also boiled my jars, and I have my lids in sanitizing in the boiling water. So those are all ready. It's very important when you're canning that whatever the temperature is of your stuff that's going in the jar, your jar needs to be almost the same temperature. So since the elderberry syrup is going to be cool, okay, once I cool it down, I need to make sure that my jars are also cooled down. So I'm going to be taking them out of the hot water and just letting them sit while the elderberry stuff cools. Here's the reason why. If you're adding raw unfiltered honey to sweeten your elderberry syrup, and you're going to want to because, I don't know, it doesn't taste good without it, the properties in the honey that make it so good for you will die if it's too hot. So that's why you want to make sure that everything's about the same temperature. If not, your jars will crack open and break in your water, and it's horrible. I've had it happen. It is just awful, especially if you take all this time to make something only to have it ruined because it's floating in the water or whatever. So right now, I do not have a fine mesh filter, not filter, whatever these things are. You put pasta water in them. See, my brain doesn't work sometimes. All right, so what I'm going to do is take the elderberry gunk, okay, that's in my pot, and I'm going to put it in here. I have cheesecloth inside the funnel. It's not a funnel. What the hell is that? Why am I having issues today? And you know I'm going to keep this in the video because I really don't care. It's real. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take it out carefully because I don't want to spill any of this like liquid gold here. And then I'm going to put it through the cheesecloth. And what I will do is I won't put too much in there because I'm going to want to take the back of the spoon, maybe not this one, it could be my flat one, and kind of push down on the elderberries to get all of the water out of those berries as much as possible. And then to make it even messier, all right, I'm going to put on some gloves because that's hot, hot liquid, and I'm going to squeeze the cheesecloth. And then I'm going to take the stuff, the rose hips and the berries and the tea and whatever, and I'm going to compost that. So nothing wrong with that, right? No waste. So that's what I'm going to spend the next little while doing. And then we'll wait and add the honey a little bit later on. Guess what? It's way too freaking hot, even with gloves. So I'm going to have to wait to strain the elderberry stuff until it cools down. And so, oh my gosh, it has splashed all over my stove. I told you, it gets super messy. And you might want to like not wear something that you like I love this sweatshirt. So I'm either going to put an apron on or probably just change my shirt into something I don't mind getting splattered with elderberry juice because it probably will stain. And I'm not sure even OxyClean can get that out. So that's what I'm going to do. I will probably have to finish this afternoon because I have work and I have an appointment. And so this may end up being done a little bit later than I anticipated, depending on how long it takes for the elderberry stuff to cool down. Something I forgot, because it's been a little while since I made elderberry syrup, is that even if you have a fine mesh strainer, it's really more effective to use cheesecloth and to squeeze it, because the really, really good stuff that you want out of those elderberries is in those reconstituted elderberries. So you want to get them as squeezed as possible. So it is a bit of a messy process. I'm going to show you what that looks like right now. So inside, you can see I have some of the elderberry stuff, and then I take my cheesecloth and wrap it up, and you can see the liquid, you know, coming out of it. And then I just squeeze it through the strainer just in case any bits escape through the cheesecloth, like that, until it's nice and dry. And then I'll take this over to my compost bowl. Once it's as dry as I can get it, I take it over to my compost bowl. Now, something to remember is that this cheesecloth is going to get icky, okay? And the elderberry junk is gonna like line it. And if too much lines it, then the liquid isn't gonna come through effectively. And so you have to clean it off every few times. Just rinse it in your sink. And if you're wondering why the water in my pot is kind of brown, that's part of today. I waited all day to see if the water would clear. And this is one of the things about living in the mountains and having mountain spring water. Our water comes from a spring house, and the inlet that takes the water in, it has a net around it, but we had a massive rain overnight and another massive rain this morning, and our filter in our basement just couldn't handle it. So I'm okay with it having, it's clean sand is really what it is, in the water, even though it's just it looks very unappetizing. The jars are going to be completely sealed. And so I have to do what I have to do because I have to get this canned. But yeah, it looks kind of gross, but that's why it is what it is. So I'll be right back, and I will show you how to get this in at the jars and then put them in the canner. No, I'm not, because I forgot the honey. I told you, it's a day. Once you have all your elderberries squeezed out, then it's time to add as much honey as you want to add. Now, this is completely to your taste. But one thing to keep in mind is that if you don't like it super sweet, then you're going to have to can it a little bit longer in the water bath canner. If you like it kind of on the sweet side like we do, we don't have to worry about it. About 10 minutes in a boiling water canning bath, and it's good to go, and it's canned. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of my honey here to the pot of the nice and cool elderberry syrup, and I'm going to mix it up. If you do decide to give this a taste test, you know, to find out its sweetness, which you should, just make sure you have a couple of clean spoons nearby so that you can taste it and then throw that spoon in the sink. You don't want to put any bacteria from your mouth into your elderberry syrup. This is probably not all the honey I will put in there, but just for time's sake, because I'm racing against the clock for Mason to get out of the bathroom with Brian. If not, you know, once he comes out, it's going to be loud and crazy, and I'll probably have a naked kid running around. So you get a ladle, kind of like this. You make sure that your jar is sanitized, which mine are sanitized. The lids are sanitized. And you pour it into, hopefully you can see that. I'll lift it up so you can. Okay. So you take this and pour it into your jars. And you'll want to pour it up all the way to just above the first lip of your jar. It's called a headspace in canning language, okay? You have to leave so much headspace. One thing that you need to have on hand when you're canning is a paper towel or a clean rag, because you want the lip of your jar to be completely clean, okay? So once that's done, you take one of your sanitized lids, put the sanitized lid on like that, and then you take one of your rings and you put the ring on tight tight. You want the ring on tight. And then you get your handy dandy little canning tool. And the way that this is used is you use your hands. Oh, look, my glove ripped. You hold it like that. Hold it nice and tight. And you sit it down in the water. So you're going to do that for as many they're jars, but it's called canning. I really don't understand who decided that that would be okay to say. Anyway, if you fill all your jars with your syrup, put them all in the canner, and like I said, if it's super sweet, 10 minutes, take them out, put them on your counter. Do not let those jars touch. Leave a little bit of space between them. I usually sit them on a cutting board and wait till you hear the little click, ting, however you want to say it. That means the lid is suctioned down and it's good to put in the pantry. But I usually wait until the next morning so they're nice and cool. And then I label them with when it was made and then put them in my pantry. And so that is how you make and can elderberry syrup. Now, once you open one of those jars by popping that lid open, you need to put it in the refrigerator. Okay? It's not a good idea to open it, you can take stuff out and just leave it sitting because that's when bacteria can start growing and mold can start growing and you don't want that. It should be okay in your refrigerator for 1 to 2 months as it is. So best of luck. Let me know if you decide to make it, how it tastes and how it went for you.